from a young age, I've just lived at 100 miles an hour, and I've been so vulnerable and just wanted to be accepted by the world that I actually just ended up being neglected by so many people. I wasn't born to fit in. People like me aren't born to fit in. I tried to get into so many other different lanes that I've always realised that I've always just been in my own unique lane. We go through life and we never break a promise to any of our friends or any of our families. We always make sure we overgive. But every single day we break promises to ourselves. When we say we're going to wake up early and we don't do it, break a promise to ourselves. When we say we're going to call a friend back, we don't do it, broken our word. Our word is our bond to ourselves. We give everyone else our best version, but we never wake up and live for ourselves. So I just become obsessed with like, I'm going to be the most selfish person in the world, but I'm going to give that person to the world because that's going to be the best version. I created a man I admire.
Welcome to another episode of the Need to Succeed podcast, where we have conversations with phenomenal entrepreneurs who are doing great things in their field. And like I always say, the reason why we have these conversations is you could have two people who've been through the exact same situation. One person decides because of that situation, they're going to go on to have phenomenal success. And another person decides because of that same situation, they can no longer achieve the things that they've set out for themselves. Same situation, two different outcomes. What is the mindset of the people who go on to do incredible things? That is exactly what we look to uncover on the Need to Succeed podcast. And today we have got an incredible guest. It's someone who has had a very, very colorful life. And as a result of that, he's using his experiences to not coach people into how they can do things better so they also don't have to go through the same trajectory. He is the founder of Melior Life Coaching. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Brad Parker.
Hello, brother. Thank you for the amazing intro.
You're welcome, my friend. How you feeling, man? How's
Very
it going?
well, bro. It's nice to be here, man. It's nice to be here.
It's really good to have you in here, bro. Really, really good. We've been, coordinating, trying to make this happen. You're busy, didn't quite work with my diary and all of that, but we got you in here.
Man, if it's anything to go from that 5-minute tie we had before that networking event, man, it's going to be a good chat.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm super, super buzzing, mate. We've got a tradition on the podcast.
Yeah.
And the very first question, my friend, is, what does success actually mean to you?
Giving fulfillment in others. For me, success, I used to think it was money when I was younger. I used to think it was having a reputation and a bit of an ego. But for me now, it's giving other people fulfillment in life to be happier with their families. It's not even for me to, I've signed up for a life sentence in the sense of like giving my life to other people. So for me, it's like giving fulfillment and happiness to other people for them to be able to give it to them families. That's to me, that's success.
Well, it's a heavy statement. And my follow-up question was going to be, what do you mean by that? But I know that's such a loaded question, and it's probably going to take us back to a whole story. So we might as well start from the beginning, right? Let's get into the story of understanding why you would sign yourself up to a life sentence to just give back, which is it's a very noble thing to do. And it's something that, I truly believe, and I always say this, that we, are not basic, financially, because, I'm just in that world. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a capitalist, all these sort of things. And I always say the amount of money you make is in direct proportion to the amount of value that you give. But I guess for you, if that's what success means to you, I guess it's going to be, the more value you give out there, the more happy you actually feel within yourself as well.
Yeah, right? Definitely.
Which is incredible. So yeah, let's get into this. So taking it back from the start, right? Who were you as a kid?
I was very, very leery, very loud, but it was insecurity. I was at 4 foot fuck all. I was very, very skinny. And it was just a persona that I thought I had to put on to fit in with people at school. Yeah. So I become very... At
what age is this when you kind of have this? How do you know that you're small, for example? Is it something you've always experienced?
Yeah, just at junior school, I was just bullied for my height. Okay. But I was brought up by my mum, my dad, my nan and my granddad, right? Because I was just surrounded by love, nothing but love, and my brother. And then I went to, obviously you go to nursery, then you go to school where I've been wrapped up in cotton wool and my mum and nan protected me from the world, yeah? Like, I then go to school and then people start being horrible. And I'm like, I've never experienced this before in my life. Like, why would people be nasty to me when my mum and nan are telling me that I'm amazing all the time and that? Do you know what I mean? So then I was like, I didn't fit in. And my mum and dad didn't really have a lot of money growing up. So I never had like the latest trendy clothes. It was just like, I was just a rugby lad. I love playing rugby. So I'd just go to school and rugby stuff. Like. And then, yeah, it was when the bullying started at school that I had to start putting on like a massive like front and persona. But as soon as I leave them school gates, man, I'd be in bits on my way home. Like, why can't I fit in? And it's only until now I've actually realised that I wasn't born to fit in. People like me aren't born to fit in. Like, I tried to get into so many other different lanes that I've always realised that I've always just been in my own unique lane. And now I'm just in my unique lane, living for me and for other people. Like, people gravitate towards that rather than me trying to pretend to be someone I'm not, because it's so tiring.
Absolutely. I mean, look, when you're pretending to be someone that you're not, the reality is you can't keep up that pretense forever. At some point, the mask is going to slip. You know, you're going to behave in certain ways that you're not actually proud of yourself. And, you know, in the end, people are going to realize that this isn't actually you because you don't feel comfortable in that skin. But, you know, as a kid, you know, you've come from this protective environment where your parents are looking after you, telling you the best, which they should do because that's what parents are there for. You get to school, all of a sudden you realize, and hang on, people are telling me I'm not perfect. Why are people trying to take the piss out of me? So, you know, was it natural for you to be able, because that's another dynamic, right? You know, wanting to protect yourself and being able to protect yourself for two different things.
Yeah.
So was that just natural for you, or was that something that you had to learn, or?
Yeah, I had a brother that was a couple of years above, so I never really had anyone give me any trouble in that. And then I went to school again, didn't fit in, and then I went to college. It was like a rugby college, so at that I was unbelievable. Like, I ended up playing for England colleges. I had a very
You say so yourself, Brad, mate.
I had a very good rugby career, and then I got a drug ban for taking steroids. So then I actually went into a life of like sort of like crime when that happened, and then that was when like I was just molded myself into just being this fucking horrible, arrogant person, because I'd put on this persona to fit in with everyone going through the school system, that when it got to college and I'm 17, 18, I'm just like, who the fuck am I?
Okay. When you say persona, what exactly do you mean by that?
Just like, I always had to be known for like sleeping with women, always had to be known to like making money like not a legitimate way. I always wanted people to be talking about me or seeing me in a certain aspect. Whether they did or not, I don't know. Like, but that's just how I wanted people to perceive me. So I always wanted to know that I had a few quid. I always wanted people to know how good I was at rugby. There was always external gratification, rather than if I just internally just gave myself the gratification of the human being I actually was and have been brought up to be, you know, insecure, vulnerable, like honest, just wanting to be loved. That's the inner child of me that was screaming the whole time. But I was just putting on a persona just to fit in and just be wanted and welcomed by people.
Yeah, 100%. I think, you know, naturally being a kid, even if you're not bullied, there's just that element of, okay, we're in the playground now, you know, everyone's got to kind of shift themselves into certain groups.
Yeah.
You know, where do I want to be in this, you know, in this hierarchy?
Yeah.
Right? So that kind of naturally happens. But yeah, if you're feeling insecure as well, obviously that kind of adds on to it. But then having that talent of actually being really good at rugby, that's obviously something I would imagine naturally almost puts you into the sphere of the cool kid anyway.
Yeah.
Because everyone's looking at those sports people, right?
Yeah, 100 at college, 100%.
I mean, yeah, look, at the best of times when you're at school anyway, as kids, there's always this kind of, you know, where do I fit in? Which, you know, in the hierarchy of things, like where am I generally? And then obviously when you add, you know, the element of maybe feeling a little bit insecure, you know, being small and all these sort of things, it kind of heightens that, you know. But then when you're good at sport, something like rugby, then naturally that puts you into the limelight. People are coming to watch you play. They're like, oh my God, this guy's really good. Yeah. And there's that almost natural attraction, right?
Yeah, definitely. And then obviously that just feeds your ego non-stop. And then obviously I just didn't, like, me as Brad Parker didn't need that. Like, I love the game, I love the sport, but then I also used it as a tool to, you know, get with women. And, you know, I remember this one time I was at college and actually got called into the sports office, and the netball coach was like, you need to stop sleeping with my players, like, you're causing too much drama. But I thrived off that. And back then I was like, yeah, like I was a lad and I loved it. But I look back at it now and I just think you're disgusting. Like, I would never want, like, when I have kids, my kid to be around anyone that's any close to who I used to be as a human being, because I used to thrive off my ego being fed.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So as you kind of moved on, you mentioned being at college. You mentioned something about you failed a PED test.
Yeah. So basically, I was playing for England colleges, and it was our last game. And then we had like a national semi-final, and I got called into the office on a Tuesday before our game, and my coach was just like, "Look, we know about you taking steroids," and I was just like, "Don't know what you're on about," and he was like, "Look, the one like you've been grassed up by someone." So I got a drug ban for like 16 months, I think it was, and it actually turns out the kiddie that sold me the steroids was the one that grassed me up when he was pissed at the rugby club on the Saturday.
No
So
way.
I'm fuming. I'm like, but that was the first time I broke down, cried my eyes out. Well, my dad told him, and the mad thing is, yeah, my dad just knew why I done it.
Hmm.
He was like, they're expecting you to play 6 or 7 times a week. You're getting so much pressure that you're not big enough. And obviously, when I'm being bullied at school about not being big enough, I'm taking them insecurities and fear of my dream not happening all the
Mm.
way through school. And where I wanted to make it in rugby so much, I just made the wrong decision.
But your ego's also attached to that, right? Because you feel like this ability that you've got is was garnering all this attention. And if for whatever reason, if you're sized, then obviously means you're not able to do that. It's not just the opportunity of I want to be a rugby player. It's also, well, my value is attached to this as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so soon as I got that ban, my identity overnight was gone because I
Mm.
was no longer a Brad that was good at rugby, and I thought that was going to be my career. So
Mm.
overnight, I lost my identity that I'd spent so long building up. I used to go to sleep when I was like 5 or 6 years old, like cuddling a rugby ball and that. My dream was purely just to make it professional in rugby. I never even, and when people say, "Oh, what do you want to do for a living?" That was just always rugby. Like it'd be 9, 10 o'clock at night on a fucking Saturday night, I'd still be at the rugby club.
Wow.
Like I was obsessed. I was obsessed with the sport, and then it got taken away from me, and then ultimately all that was left was this lad persona and ego. There was no rugby there, so then I
Mm.
just fucked off to Iron Apple.
Do you remember, so you get called into the room, because I mean, you just kind of stating how much it meant to you. I'm just trying to process it in my mind and just think, you get called into that room, not knowing what's happening. It's just, Bray, I'm going to the office. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Bang. We know you're a drug cheat. We know you've been taking steroids. You're done. 16 months. Do you remember like how you felt
Yeah.
in that moment?
First of all, I got called into the office, and it was my head coach, and he was like, "Look, I've got to report you to the RFU, which is the governing body of rugby." So then I had to go up to Twickenham, and I'm going into these offices, like, and they're sitting me down and they're talking to me, and one of the guys in there was actually my first team coach for men's rugby, and he's like about what happened and da da da, and I'm sat there thinking like, "You're a fucking moron," like because you could be one of them coaches. In fact, I'll say this now. He was one of them coaches that people used to take the piss out of me for my size. And like, I'm sat there in the room with this geezer, and I'm just thinking to myself, just like, you don't even know the damage, and it's not even the damage to me. It's the damage to my mum and my dad. Do you know what I mean? And
Mm.
my grandparents and my brother. And yeah, it was heartbreaking. Broke my heart, man. Tore it out. And again, just reality just kicked in, and then the word gets around the city, and then yeah, bang,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like how is that when when the word gets around? Obviously, you got to walk around the city.
Oh, people loved it, bro. Yeah, I had people coming up to me on the night out, like, "How's your season going?" and that, knowing that I weren't playing, and I just thought,
Mm.
"Oh, dickhead." Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, and like, yeah, it was just, yeah, it was heartbreaking, but I think a lot of people were glad that it happened
Hmm.
because, I did stand out, and again, that's a reflection of their insecurities. But luckily, the same week, someone from the government son got done, so the limelight was on him. Both of us were in the Daily Mail, but luckily he got most of the limelight.
The heat got diverted to someone else.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah. No one cared about little Brad in the papers, mate. It
yeah,
was all
yeah,
right. It
yeah.
was good.
Wow, wow. And that's the reality in life. If you're not making a splash, if people are not talking about you, then first of all, you're probably not doing something right. But at the same time, naturally with that, it's
Yeah.
gonna come a bit of hatred. People want you to, fall back down and stuff like
I
that.
love it. I feel like I've been trained for it. Like I fucking like hate on me all you want. I couldn't give a fuck. You're
Yeah.
not my bird. You're not paying my bills, and you're not my family. I really
Mm.
like honestly, hand on heart, I couldn't give a fuck about anyone's opinion. Like my last thoughts before I die aren't gonna be what someone said about me or like it's just not one of it's for me. It's just not even a thing that comes into my head.
Mm. But the thing is, it's what you're describing now isn't actually easy because what you've just been through, especially at that age, a lot of people don't really kind of recover from that,
Yeah.
right? So how did indoors more? Obviously now you're more trained.
Yeah.
You know, your mind's obviously in a better place. But you know, back then, how did that affect you?
I just had to live at 100 miles an hour. I've never, up until 2018, I've never processed anything in my life. I've always just been at 100 miles an hour, like every single day. Like I'd go to the gym for 2 hours a day. I'd go with friends. Like I never really got to sit in the emotion. And then when I got a drug ban, I just fucked off to Iron Apple for 6 months.
Okay.
Literally, I was just like, I went on there on a holiday the year before, and I was like, I'm just gonna go live out there for 6 months with a few mates, go and be like a rep or something like that. So I never processed it, and then by the time I got home, no one gave a fuck. It was chip paper news. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So, yeah, I guess I always just ran away. Always ran away.
So the 6 months actually did some good in a way in terms of just making people forget. But what was Iron Apple like for the 6 months?
Unbelievable, mate. I've done 5 years in Iron Apple, 1 year in Ibiza.
Okay.
And I again, I do like 5 or 6 months there, come home for 6 months, get back in the gym, get back in immaculate shape, go back out there again. And I was just living a life of a fucking rascal, like just 100 miles an hour, not a care in the world, like no stresses, no worries, no nothing, pure selfish arrogance, just for my life to just be like, if people are gonna fuck me over, I'm just gonna look after myself. That was my mindset, you know. So I never wanted to rely on anyone else.
So you were just out there. What were you doing? Were you?
Yeah, I was just getting pissed and just sleeping with as many women as I can, and like working behind a bar. And like when you do summers away, it's like you're literally on an island, and say there's like 300 workers. There's not just 300 workers. That's 300 lost souls that don't have gone to college, don't know what they want to do, and everyone just goes onto a party island. That's literally it. And they're there for 5 or 6 months. You grow a fantastic relationship with all of them. Some of them I'm still mates with now. And you just party for 6 months. You work behind a bar for like €25 a night, and you just go out with everyone afterwards. And then the next day you just get up, go to a pool, and then you literally every day for 6 months. That was the life.
Wow. How old were you at this point?
17 when I first started.
Wow.
Yeah, probably one of the youngest to do a season, I think.
Yeah.
Good. I didn't have any other choice, man. Do you know what I mean?
And you did that for 5 years.
5 years in Iron Upper and 1 year in Ibiza.
Wow. I mean, I couldn't imagine doing that for like 5 years of that. What was that? I would call that debauchery of both your body, your mind, your soul.
Fuck me. The first one, yeah, good. Second one, yeah, good laugh. The other three in Iron Upper were running away, and then the last one in Ibiza was purely to go out of a bang and make as much money as I possibly could.
What do you mean running away?
Just like my ego just couldn't allow me to get a job, because I'd programmed my mind from such a young age. My paradigm, all it knew, was that I was just going to be a professional rugby player. There's no doubt in my mind. Then my identity and dream got taken overnight. So I was like, fuck this, I ain't getting a job. No way. Not a chance. Well, I would never allow myself, and this is no disrespect to anyone, but this was just my mindset of like, I remember I saw a sign on the wall for a job at office, and I was thinking, do I have to go in there and sell trainers on a weekend for a bit? My mind could not allow me to do it. I was like, fuck that. I was like, I'm not having someone walking in here and saying to me, Brad, what are you doing working here? But again, that's just what's going on in my mind. Probably 90% of the people don't even give a fuck. But that was just how polluted my brain was and driven by ego and status. So I went in, I tried a few different jobs and that, but I either just got sacked or like I'd walk out at like lunchtime or something.
What was the worst job that you did? Or the worst experience you had in a job?
So when I played rugby, like you got they put some of the young lads in like the factory. So I've gone in there and they're like packing boxes and that, and this geezer's gone move that box. And I'm like, who the fuck are you talking to like that, mate? No, again, ego. Like, don't tell me to shift that box and hurry up. I was like, no. And then they ended up getting in each other's face, and like, I don't fight. I'm not a violent person, but for some reason I would just rub my mouth, right? And then the geezer's grabbed my face, and then like my mate's just come down, who was one of the first team players as well. He was like, mate, you can't be doing that in here. Like, you got to go. And I was like, I'm off, mate. I'm not stacking boxes and that. Like, but my parents always knew I was destined for more. So my brother was waking up early, going on building sites and that. And unfortunately, I went down the life of crime and making money a certain way, sitting on a car every weekend. And I guess it was my empire. Nothing to be proud of at all, but for me, it gave me the lifestyle that I needed at that time.
What do you mean sitting on the car?
Just fucking, running about, doing what I needed to do to make a few quid and that. And then fuck off to Iron Apple for 6 months, come back, do the same thing for 6 months, fuck off for 6 months, and it was just that cycle. How do you get out of that life when I'm waking up and I'm not answering to anyone?
It's tough. I mean, no consequences.
No
If you're not getting
consequences.
arrested and banged up in jail, then you just think this is normal, right? But you mentioned that the last year was in Ibiza that you wanted to make as much money as possible.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Because you said you guys are getting paid what, £25 a day?
20. So when we worked in Iron Apple, it was like £25 a night behind the bar. So
Yeah.
that was nothing. And then my pal said to me, like, look, come to Ibiza next year. Like, you've outgrown Napa. And obviously, where I've been there for 4 or 5 years, I had it sweet. I would go to the clubs and the bars, and I was looked after, and I felt like a king out there. I have very close mates that run all the events. Went to Ibiza, and my pals are like, just come out there, it's fine. Like, so I thought, oh, fuck it. And I weren't massively into drugs. Like, I weren't massively into drugs when you go out there. And then next thing you know, like, the party lifestyle, bro, that island just swallows you up. Swallows you up. So we went over there, had an unbelievable 6 or 7 months there. And again, just running away. So in my last summer in Ayia Napa, my nan died, who brought me up, my absolute world. Whew, careful not to get upset. And then my mate was murdered over there, and then I got back, and then this girl that I was seeing through the summer, she was like, had an abortion behind your back. So in the space of 3 months, or like 3 weeks, I think it was, or for a month, it was like, yeah. So like, I lost my friend. I saw him on the table at the hospital dead. And then my nan passed away, buried my nan, and then yeah, this girl told me she had an abortion behind my back, and bro, my whole world just stopped. Like, that was hard, man. But again, I didn't process it. I just got home, got back in the car, got back in shape, and then I went to Ibiza again. And then at the end of Ibiza, like, I had my breakdown, like, hard, massively.
What brought that on?
It was just like, as I said before, like, just living at 100 miles an hour. Like, from a young age, I've just lived at 100 miles an hour, and I've been so vulnerable and just wanted to be accepted by the world that I actually just ended up being neglected by so many people. I was sexually abused when I was younger, and I just masked all of that, because obviously when you're partying and stuff and you've got girls feeding your ego and you're in bed and you're texting and like, you're never on your own. So then when I got back from Ibiza, I was in this relationship, and it just weren't working. Like, made me so depressed and anxious. Like, life just generally did. And yeah, I just come crashing. But I never understood anxiety or depression. And I remember I was at Ocean Beach once, and I'm getting all paranoid and that, like, thinking like, what the fuck? Ran out and just broke down crying outside my flat. And my two best mates come down there, like, never expected him to be like that. Like, what the fuck? And then that was my first experience of mental health. Like, bad.
Wow. Wow. And what do you think brought that on? Was it just the fast life? Was it the drugs? Or was it just you
I think it's
finally taking in what happened?
I think it's a combination of everything. Like, I don't take anything now. Like, don't drink. No drugs, no steroids, no nothing. I'm very much just like, internally now, I have to create my own happiness. I don't even listen to music under a certain decibel, because I'm so strict about what's going into my brain, because I've abused my body for so long, no question about it. And I'm not sat here proud about it, but I've done it to mask and hide so much pain and trauma, you know, of like tiring, just trying to wake up and just fit into a world that I was never meant to fit into. I was just meant to be myself.
Wow.
And I think, yeah, just the mad lifestyle. Like, when you're, it's all ego driven and you think it's all good sleeping around and stuff, but it fucks your mental health, because come a Sunday afternoon, you've been a lad throughout the whole week, and then on a Sunday afternoon, everything catches up with you and there's nowhere to be seen. It's lonely, man. Like, I was waking up wanting to just end my life. Every day I used to just visualize myself hanging off the back of my door and like crying to my mum, begging her not to go to work. Like, they'd ring me. My mum and dad used to ring me like 5, 6, 7 times a day, just making sure I was still alive and had a son to come home to.
Wow.
I was a shell of a man. I was one of the most confident people you ever meet in your life.
Yeah.
Like, and then I couldn't even talk to a girl on the reception at the gym because I was just too shy.
What brought that on? How did things change?
I think my nervous system just shut down. I bet when I come back from my Ibiza, obviously, like, the mad paranoia and that you have living out there. I just got home and I was just fucked. I was lonely. I went back to my mum's. I was just living in that. So there was like a single bed or in a bedroom. And my mates went off to South America. As I said, I was in a relationship that I wasn't happy with. And I was lost. Even my summer away identity of Brad that just lives abroad that I created myself and I identified as myself, that was gone then. So my identity as a rugby player, gone. My identity as the summers away, gone. Fuck. what am I going to do?
Mm.
What am I going to do? I don't have the ego to go and get a job. I've got a load of money, but I was too shy to go and start personal training because my anxiety was too bad. And I was fucked. I was the most I've ever had, but internally I had nothing.
Wow. Wow, that's powerful. I mean, when you're in that sort of situation, I mean, obviously you can explain to us. Like, how do you get yourself out of that? How did you do it?
I become obsessed. It was the bottom line. Like I was gonna end my life. I was gonna die, and my mum and dad were gonna lose their son, and that was it. And then my nan and grand, like, because my nan wasn't there anymore. Like I would just go. I would have just gone to hers for like a month and just be like, just sit on the end of her chair and just chat with her, and she just always used to make me feel like everything was always alright. So like the key person that I would have gone to wasn't there, and the reason why my breakdown was so bad because the reality hit that like my nan wasn't there anymore. Um, so I just got so fed up of being sad that I just went and cried on the end of my mum's bed. I was like, look, I need help now. I'm trying to do this every day, but I can't. It's a battle. Like, these demons are so hard. Unless you go through them, you don't understand it. They're so hard, man. Like, imagine the one that's making you feel like that is yourself. Right? We're all meant to love ourselves and that, but the only one that makes us feel depressed is ourselves. So I basically just went to the doctors with my mum. My mum come with me because that's how nervous I was. Like, to be fair, like it's only up until I got my teeth done. My mum would still come dentist with me. But yeah, I just basically like went down to the doctors and they were like, right, you got to wait 6 weeks, and then we're gonna put you through CBT. And like, why you do that? Like, here's some antidepressants. And I'm like, in my head, I'm just thinking they barely asked me any questions. They fobbed me off. I was like, bro, I don't even know if I'll be here in 6 weeks. Like, I don't generally know if I'm going to be here in 6 weeks. I'm just about waking up every single day. I weren't eating. I weren't showering. I wasn't in shape. I couldn't even diet. I couldn't do nothing. And they're telling me I've got 6 weeks to wait. You're off your fucking nut. So anyway, 6 weeks come. And by then, I'm just shot to pieces. Like, absolutely shot to pieces. And then I just fucking went and went to the sessions. And I said to her, like, do you ever... And I'm sitting in the waiting room and reality hits hard, man. You're sitting there, you've got people just all walks of life. And it didn't matter how much money I had then. I'm still in the fucking... I'm still in there with the... in the same mental health ward as everyone else, you know. I was nothing. No fucking personality, no nothing. Pale as fuck. And then they give me some trainee nurse, and I said, look, I'm going to ask you a question. Like, you ever thought about ending your life before? And she's like, no, I've been to university and that. And I'm like, you've been to university and like you're no disrespect. Like, how are you going to try and tell me that you can relate to me when you're not waking up with them demons? Oh, I've been trained. Da, 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 da. And it was that moment where I was like, I've got to do this myself. I have to do this myself. Like, and I'd go there for a Thursday and for an hour. And I guess it was a safety blanket, but they're telling me to fill out charts about how I felt during the week and that. And I'm like, this is mad, you know, this is crazy. So then I become obsessed with my brain and why I was thinking a certain way, because it clicked. It was like, if I can make myself feel that shit, then surely I can make myself feel absolutely incredible. I just have to start working out how. Then I just started watching. There was this thing with Oprah Winfrey on YouTube, and instead of waking up every morning wanting to end my life, I was waking up and I was like, just being told I can achieve anything I possibly wanted. And I had no vision. I didn't know what I wanted to achieve in life, but I was being told I could, which is more than waking up and telling yourself, look, just hang off the back of the door and all the pain goes. Do you know what I mean? So then I just become obsessed with like structure in the morning, like routine, vision boards. Like, I started going back to the gym, and I looked in the mirror at the gym and I was like, one day I just looked in the mirror at the gym and I was like, you're someone. I just looked myself in the eyes.
Wow.
And I was like, you are someone in this world that has achieved a hell of a lot in life. And I literally, it was from that moment forward, it was like, right, that's the stepping stone. That's the stepping stone. So I used to just wake up, have a little bit of a routine, and then have a shower. Then I earned the right to go back to bed. I earned that right rather than just waking up and sleeping, because I used to sleep all the time. I used to sleep hours and hours and hours, because if I slept, I might have a happy dream. And if I slept, I've got no negative thoughts. So I can't be down if I'm asleep. But then my phone would go off and I'd be on edge. Because at the same time, you're going through a breakup and you got the paranoia and things like that. And yeah, it was mad. It was crazy. And then I just basically said to myself, like, I've been let down so much in my life. And don't get me wrong, I've deserved a hell of a lot of the wrong that has happened to me. But now it's time to just never let myself down again. Because we go through life, yeah, we never break a promise to any of our friends or any of our families. We always make sure we overgive. But every single day we break promises to ourselves. When we say we're going to wake up early and we don't do it, break a promise to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
When we say we're going to call a friend back, we don't do it, broken our word. Our word is our bond to ourselves. So why do we give the world and everybody else, and we go into a fucking job, and I used to go into American Express, I worked there. Everyone is giving their best version of themselves to people that they're only going to see for 7, 8 hours a day. Then they're going to go home and treat their family like shit or their other half because they've had a hard day. Makes no sense. We give everyone else our best version, but we never wake up and live for ourselves. So I just become obsessed with like, I'm going to be the most selfish person in the world now, but I'm going to give that person to the world because that's going to be the best version. And then that was it. I created a man I admire.
Wow. Wow. That is so powerful because you're so right. It's so easy to treat everyone in the way that you feel that people should be treated. But when it comes to yourself, you talk about making promises to yourself, saying, I'm going to wake up. I always say, every time you tell yourself to do something and you don't do it, you're letting yourself down. But more importantly, you're telling your subconscious that this is who you are as a person.
You're a fucking loser.
Yes.
That's what you're telling yourself 7, 8, 9 times, 10 times a day. You're a loser. And if you had a friend that let you down 10 times a day throughout the whole week, you would disown that person. So you're disowning your body. It's only your physical that's being carried around because your internal isn't there. It can't be. It's impossible.
Incredible. I love that. Two things. I want to carry on from where we stopped in terms of, you now realizing, actually, I am someone, I am special, and I do matter. But just taking one step back, what's your view on the mental health system in the UK?
Fucked. How you can tell someone to wait 6 weeks that's waking up wanting to end their life, wait 6 weeks and we'll get you in to see someone. It's madness. It's crazy. It's fucked.
I mean, that in itself alone, if you're on the edge, that in itself, you might not last a day after
Exactly that. And you got all this money going into the government. They're just spending it on shagging fucking brasses and doing gear and that. It's mental. You should be looking after the young. The young as well.
Allegedly.
Fucking Eden College idiots. But it's that's my opinion is just like it's fucked. So this is why I created Melior, because I now offer a service I wish I had. For the last 2 years I've changed well over 200 lives. Or like one-to-one clients, do you know what I mean? I put out content 3 times a day on 6 or 7 platforms purely because there was a 23-year-old Brad one day that needed that relatable voice. So that's what I mean. I've given myself a life sentence to be able to just every single day just try and change one emotion. And if I can do that, that's all I ever dreamed of when I was 23. But there was nothing. Social media was big, but it wasn't like massive when I was 23, like 6 years ago. And now I just want to make sure that anyone that comes across my content, my podcast, jumpers, journals, coaching, whatever it is, just get some percentage of value out of it. Because there was one time I just needed a voice, but I was looking at people with millions of followers. Like, it's easy to look at the end product, but I want someone to look at me and just go, fucking hell, like I can bump into him in the gym and then actually have a chat and stuff.
Yeah, his raw is relatable because it's important. Because if you don't see it's I'm just coming from a black position, right? So like, we always try to make this argument, like, if you don't see someone in a position that looks like you might be listening to this voice, but you can't relate to that voice. Nor can that voice relate to you in the language they're using, the way they're coming across. It's like, you don't get me, right? So, and if I don't see someone who gets me in that position, I perhaps can't see myself in that position, or it's more difficult to see myself in that position.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas if you see someone who you can relate to, he's like, he literally just sounds like, like my mate.
Yeah.
So like, I know what he's talking about. He understands me. So if I speak to this guy, he's gonna get it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it makes a massive difference. You've got an outlet. You got someone who you can reach out to that you have, confidence in, right?
So I'll speak. I don't like to call my guys clients. I don't like to call them because I speak to my mates every day. That's how I see my job. I'm just there for my mates, and there's an exchange in money. Because if there's no exchange, I've coached people free before. It's the worst thing. I'll never, ever do it again. Because if there's no exchange, people take the piss, right? And don't get me wrong, I want to be wealthy. I'm going to provide for my family, and I'm going to make sure that every single person in the world can have life coaching for minimum 20 quid, right?
Wow.
For every month, subscription site, 20 quid, you'll have me every single hour, every single week for an hour. Like, that's my goal, to be able to come on, tell me what you want me to coach you on, and I will make sure that month is planned out to make sure every single one of you person on that fucking Zoom call, does not get off that Zoom call until you know exactly what I've taught you. Fact. Because people, like, coaches will charge. I've seen this high ticket stuff. It's mad. Fair play if you do it. That's up to you, right? But I just believe in being able to change, like, I wanna. I don't want to change the world because it's impossible to have an impact that big. But every single person that just invests in any sort of anything to do with Melly or like, oh, I just want to make sure that I change their life. I stay on my calls way longer than I should do because I care so much.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah, I'm similar as well. It's 1 hour and then it's like 59 minutes into you looking at the time. It's sort of when we get to the end, and I'm like, do we have any more questions? Okay, no more questions. Are you sure there's no more questions?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Then we got, and that could be an hour and a half into it. That could be 2 hours into it. It doesn't really matter.
No.
Look, obviously, yes, you get super busy and you got plans. That's fine. But generally, it's like it's not really about timing. It's about am I giving these people enough value
Yeah.
so they can actually go away, implement the things,
Yeah.
and not still have questions in their head
Yeah.
when they're already invested in you.
Yeah.
Actually, they still have questions. So yeah, I completely get that. But when you get to that position, you get to that point where you realize actually I'm in something. What's like, first of all, do you remember how you felt in that moment?
Yeah, empowered. I felt empowered then. It was the first time I actually looked into my eyes in the mirror and I just saw like emotion. Because before that there was nothing behind the eyes, man. Just some absolute juice head that was in pain, anger, hate for the world, lonely. But then I looked in my eyes then and that vulnerable, insecure, emotional, like honest, caring inner child. I saw that. I felt like my soul was just looking back at me in the mirror, and I actually felt that connection. And then it was from that moment onwards where I just was like, nah, I've got this. I've got this. Fuck anything else. Fuck any tablets. Fuck anything else. Didn't even have any counselling. I got myself out of it.
Wow, that's amazing. It's powerful. Listen, man, I can resonate with that experience. I've had, there was one period in my life where, I also went for anxiety and I just, listen, Nigerian, man, strong.
Yeah.
Like this mental health is nonsense. It doesn't exist. It's bollocks, mate. Until it hit me, I lost my business. And at this point, you're feeling like the man. You're like, yes, got my business. The family is like, oh my God, he's finally got his shit together. This is great. We're loving this. And then, bang, you lose it. You feel like a failure, right? And you feel like, oh my goodness, I told my partner, she's at drama school at the time. Don't worry about drama school. I've got you. You just focus on that. All of that breaks down and you just start panicking, right? And it's pretty much exactly the same. First of all, listen to audiobooks. Tony Robbins. This was not so much audiobooks, but it was literally CDs. And then I'm gonna go for a walk. And then you go for a jog. And do you know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden you're like,
It's building momentum, right?
yeah.
So, don't get me wrong, people got an antidepressants or whatever, good for you. Like, if that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. But
Yeah.
if you're consuming shit, you're eating shit, you're not going to see nature, you're not doing no exercise, you're not drinking water, you're drinking alcohol, you're doing drugs, you're smoking. Like, if you're not doing a list of things that are beneficial to prevent your mental health from deteriorating and having daily anxiety and depression, and then you're gonna disregard your body by just giving the only option is antidepressants and tablets when we actually hold the answers ourselves. Crazy. It's coward's way. I'm sorry, like that would trigger a lot of people, but it's a coward's way out. Like if you've done everything you possibly can, fair enough, and you got on the tablets, so you need to do it, fair enough. But if you still drop an alcohol, bit of alcohol, or like drugs or anything like that, and then you decide to go on antidepressants, like you need to check yourself because you're consuming bullshit all the time, which is
Well,
why
yeah.
they're gonna feel like that.
I know where you're coming from. It is a valid point that you're making there because the reality is, our body actually has all of like literally chemicals that will heal us, from things like anxiety if we're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You spoke about before we came on, you were speaking about, you had to turn your alarm off because you got alarms that go off at different times of the day
Every day.
for you to show gratitude,
Yeah.
right? Little things like that actually cures anxiety
Yeah.
because it releases chemicals into your body that makes you feel great, that you can't feel anxious while you're feeling great.
Nah, never. Like people, you don't understand life. Like life is a blessing. We get 28,000 days in this world. Like 20. That's not a lot of days if you think about it, right?
When
28,000
you said
days
that,
in
bro,
this world.
that sounded so small. I was like, is he sure about these
Yeah,
numbers?
bro. I'm telling you, look it up. 28 on average, 28,000 days in this world, and you wake up and you have all of these fucking problems, and we call them problems. But like, if you actually think about it, like if you've gone through life and you've never had to worry about where your next meals come from, you've never had to worry about your phone bill being cut off. You've always had a roof over your head. You've always had a mum there or a dad there at least. Like, and you've got food in the fridge and water at the tap now. I don't care what you say. Your problems are invalid. They are invalid because you don't know true torture until you're walking fucking to school and you've got holes in your shoes and you don't know where your parents are and you're going back to a home. Like even me, like I've been through trauma, but it's to me it's invalid. There's so many people that have actually had true issues, like that have never had the privilege to have a Christmas and a family around a table opening up Christmas presents. And then we wake up and we worry about, oh shit, have I got enough money to, do a podcast, or have I got enough money to go out on the weekend, or am I going to be able to go away 3 times this year when some people can't even pay their fucking electricity bill? Like, they call it the snowflake generation. A lot of people do battle, but at the end of the day, if you truly want to be happy, like you have to have such a strict perspective at life. Like, so I wake up and I just put my hand on my heartbeat, and whatever is on my mind throughout the day just doesn't matter. Because 150,000 people didn't wake up today. 150,000 people on average aren't going to wake up tomorrow. 150,000 people aren't going to wake up following day. And I get to wake up every single day and choose to have problems and choose to have worries. Like, to me, that's a blessing. I lost my granddad in December, my best mate. Honestly, my absolute world. But I was still in the gym at 5 o'clock the next day. And it's not because I don't care, it's because I just picture him laying in that hospital bed, like with his matching pajamas on, and he said to my mum, like, I just don't want to fight this anymore. I just can't be bothered. I've just had enough. If he can be that strong, knowing that he that evening was going to leave the world for good, and that's it. The only thing that lasts forever is the soul, right? The physical is what goes. Bro, like, what strength do you need to get out of bed? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, just we got water coming out the tap. There's kids that have to walk 3, 4, 5 miles just to go and get fucking dirty drinking water and pump it to get it out. You're letting the tap run while you're fucking laughing about or checking social media. You're deciding whether, like, the fact you get to decide whether you want to fast. You know this fasting thing where people don't eat for 24 hours. Like, don't ever tell me how hard it is to fast for 24 hours. You're choosing you can't have food. You're choosing, oh, I'm not going to eat for 24 hours. There's kids out there that don't even have a fucking choice, that would love to have a mouthful of one of the foods that you can't be. So if you look at life that way, please tell me how you can be down. Please tell me how you can be down, because everything is a blessing.
Wow. Man, that's so powerful, man. I mean, you're making me feel bad. I come from that environment, so I understand what you're talking about. But at the same time, I'm not blessed to be in this environment, but I do also take it for granted. I've been here long enough now. I've been here for over 20 years now myself. So I do take these things for granted. So I know exactly where you're coming from. I know exactly what you mean. How did you come to become Mr. Melio? How did all of this begin?
I just had to, like, over the years, I've just let myself down so much. I've let family down. My mum and dad will never say I've let them down, but I know that I have, subconsciously. And I just got to a point that was like, I need to offer a service I wish I had. So when I had my breakdown, so March the 18th, 2018, I actually put out on social media that I was battling my mental health. Load of people supported it and messaged it. And just from that day, I just documented how I felt, whether it was bad, whether it was good. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I went straight away into a straight life, because that isn't the case. I was still needed to make money. I needed some sort of structure. So my mate asked me before lockdown, like, will you life coach me? I've seen all the content you've been putting out. I just want to learn how to think how you do. And I said, listen, I can only teach you on the stuff that I know that have helped me. I'm not an expert. Helped him, loved it, got out of every single other thing I was involved in. Started personal training, went well. Then I was like, I just need to do something I love. And then melior means for the pursuit of the better in Latin. So I was like, right, that's the life coaching name. Put a video out, got loads of love, so much love, overwhelming, hundreds of people.
Wow.
And then there was obviously the hate as well. People fucking saying to me, like, how can you do?
They've got to be there, bro.
Yeah,
you can't have that without the hate.
Yeah, trust me. So then I just built the brand, and then I find it so easy, because I just have to think, whether it's content, coaching, the clothing, the journals, whatever it is, I just have to think, what would 23-year-old me want? Because I dedicate my life to being where it is now, because I'm the man I needed 5 years ago. So I always say, like, so even now, so the man that I needed 5 years ago is manifested into reality now. Like, 5 years ago, if I would have said I'd be sat here even doing a podcast, let alone having a business, crazy. But then now, like, every single time I wake up in the morning, I'm like, how would the Brad Parker in 5 years' time want me to act now? Would he want me to lay in and hit snooze for 15 minutes broken sleep? Absolutely fucking not. So I wake up between 2:45 and 3:15 every morning.
What? 2:45? I mean, I'm an early riser, but you're taking it to the next level, mate.
Yeah, man.
Why do you do that?
We're almost spiritually aligned between 3:20 and 4:20. I think it is, or 3 or 4. So I wake up and I just meditate for an hour, just sit in my own thoughts and calm my body, and you're shut off from the world. You're shut off from the world. Like when you learn how to meditate and you activate your pineal gland, and you really really just get so content in being able to just sit there and feel the emotion for an hour. It's incredible. Then I journal or read whatever I'm feeling, and then I'll be in the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning, majority of the morning, because to me, I feel empowered to get home at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I've taken care of business. Now, a lot of hate on TikTok because of this, because of waking up at that time. Everyone was like, no, but you don't understand, right? If I'm home at 7 o'clock, I get to have an hour with my missus. I get to have breakfast with my missus. I get to watch her get ready. I get to banter her for an hour, right? And then we have breakfast together. Then I go to work and she goes to work. Now, if I'm done with clients at 3 o'clock, and when I do have children, I'll be able to pick my kids up. I can take my kids to school, and I can pick my kids up from school. I can spend 3:15 until 8:30 in the evening, 5 hours with my kids, which means I'm getting an hour in the morning and 5 hours in the evening. I'm getting 6 hours a day with my family. Because then if I go to bed at 8:30 and I'm up again and I'm taking care of business, I will not be one of these dads that works non-stop, doesn't get time to see their kids. Worst way, I'll have to go to the laptop and do an hour call. I'm programming myself to be the best dad that I could possibly ever be, because my dad has set the bar so fucking high. So, like, at the end of the day, like, we sit down and we see it as a privilege, because we're programmed when we're younger to watch TV from 7 o'clock till 9, 10 o'clock. I'll just watch one more episode. Then you go to sleep. Then you'll go in your we're at a theta stage before we go to sleep. So 20 minutes before we drift off is our hypnosis stage, right? So you're going to sleep with all of the worries and insecurities and all the bullshit TV you've just watched, programming yourself through your sleep. And then the first 20 minutes, if you're waking up and checking your phone, the first 20 minutes of being awake is a hypnosis stage as well. So you're programming yourself to just be a fucking idiot. So I just think to myself now, like, my kids will be going to bed at about 7:30. So I'm going to be going to bed at 8:30 anyway. Spent 6 hours. By then, my missus won't be working. Watch this podcast back in 3 years. Yeah, this will be how my life's manifested. I'm getting 6 hours a day with my family. I'm also getting the whole day doing what I want. I'm taking care of business in the gym and looking after myself so I can give the best possible version to the world. To me, it's like I just execute time so much more important now, because I don't want to be sat down in front of a TV eating food. I'm unique, right? I'm building a unique brand, so I need to live a unique way.
It's so weird to me that people who are living the orthodox lifestyle, who are doing the 9 to 5, who, let's be honest, some people will say they like it, but the majority of people who are not working 9 to 5 do not want to be doing it. But yet they hear something that it's not even that unorthodox, but it's just unorthodox to people who are doing, the normal stuff, which is going to bed at 10 or 11 and waking up at 7 and then getting ready, rushing, trying to make it to work through traffic and all that sort of stuff. But I'm just trying to understand what is really complex about what you've just said. You're going to bed at 8:30, you're waking up at like 2:30, 3. That's 6.5 hours sleep. That is more than enough sleep that what the body needs. In fact, if I sleep longer than that, I start to literally feel tired. Right? I feel groggy because I've slept for too long. Like sleeping for 6 hours, that's more than enough for me. And I know some people need 7, some need 8, but if all you need is 6.5, what's the problem if you wake up at 2:30? Because you're still going to bed at 8:30. Not a lot of people go to bed at 8:30.
What it does is it triggers people. It triggers people to just realize, like, you're fucking useless. There's like 9 million people in the UK, I think it is, that don't even have a pound in savings, and they'll be the ones that do the 9 to 5. Like, you're a slave. I don't care what anyone. You're a fucking slave.
100%.
Like, if people died, they'd hire someone else within like a week. Do you know what I mean?
The reason why you're a slave as well is because, look, if you do not have the ability to make decisions independently, then you have to answer to someone else's demands.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
Right? So if you felt like you were going to lose your job if you didn't do what your boss said, and you haven't got savings, and you can't pay the bills tomorrow, your rent, and you're going to be on the streets, when your boss says jump, you will go in to say how high.
Yeah. When I worked at American Express, and they sent round the holiday forms, and I put like 40 days holiday. Like, I put Bali, I put Cyprus. Like, I was just going away, and they called me in, and they were like, "Oh, like, what are you doing? You can't put this many holidays off." And I literally said, "Yeah, listen, I don't care if I'm topping sales. Yeah, I'm going away on them holidays. You think I'm tied down? to a certain amount of holidays because of you. Fucking no chance, no way. Like, and I want to get to a stage where I create life coaches and build their business with them to be able to, give them the freedom and the lifestyle. And most importantly, I want to create a human being, whether it's a woman or a man, where you're the perfect partner. Like, show love, like remorse, you show like being insecure, vulnerable. I want to show you how to be motivated, where you can manifest the life that you want. I want to teach you how to be an amazing parent. Right. So for me to be able to teach other people to do that, I need to become one of the best in my field to be able to do that.
Does the perfect person exist?
Doesn't exist, but you can get close. I shouldn't have said perfect, but you can get close to. Just basically create someone that you admire, your whole family admires, and you give that person to the world. Wes Watson says that, a guy that I'm in personal development, and it sticks with me forever, because you want to be able to create a life of freedom and create a life of love, and that's only ever going to come from understanding how much you love yourself and you should love the world.
Like, why did you give yourself a life sentence to, coach the world?
Because I believe my soul and my spirit has been sent here from a past life to heal people and to be able to open their eyes up to living an incredible life. I never had that. And I think at 20, I was 27 when I started Melior. I'm 29 now. And one of my first clients, I saved their life. How can I stop?
What do you mean?
He come to me, suicidal, wanted to kill himself. Put him on a 12-week coaching program, saved his life. One of my first ever clients. How can I stop? Because for me now, imagine, I would never, ever, ever be able to imagine my mum waking up and walking downstairs and finding that I took my life. So for me, it's like I would never be able to stop this now, because I would never, ever, ever want someone's mum to walk down the stairs and see that their child isn't in this world anymore, or their mum, or whoever's lost whoever, and I could have had my chance to keep that person in the world. Because someone can reach out to me, and I will guarantee, if I can do it if I've got a spare hour that day, I will put you on a consultation call. You will not have to wait 6 weeks. You won't have to wait a week. You won't have to wait a day. If I've got an hour the next day or half an hour that day, I will give you my time. I had a lad got in touch with me, and he was like, my brother keeps thinking about ending his life. And I said, send him my number. Get him to call me now. So call me now. I said, listen, let's get to work straight away. Your brother said he'll fund it. Let's fund it. Let's go 12 weeks. On the phone to him, bang. I said, all right, cool. Don't give a fuck about your past now. You look in the dictionary, the meaning of a coach is to get you to a destination. I'm sorry you've been through that. I do not give a fuck. If you want to spend an hour of my time, you pay me for another hour and you can talk about your past, but I don't care. And he rang me the next day. He said, what about antidepressants? I said, just give me 1 week. Give me 1 week of your life, and I promise you, if after a week you don't see any value, go on the antidepressants. Didn't even bring up the conversation again, and now he's thinking about getting engaged to his bird. In 12 weeks. In 12 weeks, he's gone from wanting to end his life to thinking about getting engaged with his missus, and he's just started, coaching people for them to have a better life in nutrition and that. And it's countless, man. I've had loads of young lads and women come to me with suicidal thoughts and that. And I've never lost a client to suicide. I've never had a client that's gone back to drink or drugs. How can I stop doing what I'm doing? I can't. I just don't have the guilt. Imagine me having the guilt where someone's reached out. I don't do it anymore. A week later, they're dead. Don't have it in me, man. There's my life sentence.
No.
But to me, it's my purpose. I'd rather have my purpose and my life sentence and leave a legacy that my family are proud of, and that everyone that knew me is proud of, because I've kept people in this world, rather than waking up dreading what I've got to do that day. So for me, this is my purpose.
Wow. I mean, it's an interesting one, because we've got a tradition on the podcast, right? So, we've got the first question that we ask, what does success mean to you? And then we've got a final question. But I feel like I almost know where this is going to go, right? But I'll ask it anyway, right? So, you've obviously done incredible things. And what you're on now, the journey you're on is phenomenal. It's actually having an impact on this world. So, like, at this stage, what now remains your need to succeed?
I think for me is just matching the level that my mum and dad have given me in the sense of being a parent. I think for me now, the only thing for me to do is to succeed in that way, is me to bring I can't wait to have kids and bring that into the world and just have a loving family. My next step of success, I know success and money is a byproduct of waking up and just being your authentic self. Money is a byproduct of offering a service that people need. So for me now, I've just got this vision of laying on a sofa. I've got my little dog, I've got my little girl running around, and I've got my missus laying on my lap. To me, like, when that happens, I've succeeded in life, because Melly will never stop. I'll never stop. Money will be a byproduct of that. Being a millionaire will be a byproduct of that. So for me now, just being, yeah, man, just the family for me is the success. And I've had the money, you know, I've had fucking, I've got the car, I've got the watch, I've got everything I possibly ever want. So for me now, it's just building an incredible family, my beautiful girlfriends. That's all I give a shit about now.
Brad Parker, thank you very much, my
No
brother.
worries, man. Thank you for having me, bro. It's been a privilege.
Amazing.